Okay, Shanjeevan, hello. So what I want you to do, I need you to show me some higher quality level drawing skills, because the colour pages you've submitted, obviously we'll have a chat about them, but they're not going to push you up to the grades you need to get, and we will discuss why in lesson. So what I want you to work on today is developing another page of drawing. You need to show me higher quality skill than that page, okay? On that page that you handed me, there's absolutely no tonal range, there's no dimension, they are cartoons essentially. Doodled cartoons. You need to show me that you can actually draw images. Okay, so on your action plan, at the bottom of the action plan, I did submit to you a group of drawings. You can use those or you could find some more, that's absolutely fine. Please do look for paintings and drawings that you can work from. Maybe that will help you a little bit, copying some paintings and drawings. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do to start us off is this top drawing. I don't think I can zoom in there, but it's basically like a little skull sketch. It looks like a painting. I'm actually going to use some coffee to do this, so I'm going to work from some coffee. I've sketched out the basic structure of the drawing. I've used a brown pencil because obviously if I'm working with coffee I don't want to see heavy pencil lines, so I thought that'd be a little bit more successful. I've mixed myself up a bit of coffee and I've got some water as well to blend it out. So I'm going to start off going around the outside and the background to build up a little bit of structure to the lighter area. And I'm going to use some water kind of blend and fade that out around the outside. Do also have some dry coffee to hand as well, so you can sprinkle a little bit on and work into it. So I'm going to start around the outside, and I'm looking at this example kind of picture I've got there, and the outside's quite messy. Bit of coffee and a bit of water. Okay, and I'm actually going to mix up a little bit more coffee, I think. And I can find the coffee. But I'm going to make this very, very, very dark. So I'm going to use a very little bit, a lot of coffee, and a very small bit of water to get myself some very dark tones. So get yourself a couple of different tones. There we go. Lots of coffee, a little bit of water to get myself a really, really dark tone. Mix that in a bit more. And we may have to build up some layers with this, okay? It's not going to go as dark as we want it to go instantly. You are going to need to build yourself up some layers. So I'm working on the darker areas to start with. Building up some patches and some shapes and getting in my shadowy areas. Okay, this is where, even though this is quite a quick and simplistic style painting, you have to work to get in that fine detail. Okay, so it's the little bit of shading around the beak, little areas of texture there. You need to apply shadow and highlight, okay, if you don't, it's going to look very flat. So there is some shadow down and around here. Coming around to that gap, there's a little bit of a dent in there. I'm showing off some of the texture of the skull. And then in there is very dark, around that gap there. Okay, what I probably do now, to an extent, is let that dry and then get a finer brush and build up some extra layers on top. So essentially it's just a tonal drawing. Definitely need some darker shadow around here. I'm going to need some dark shadow in this eye, but I'm going to let that section dry first and add that in a little bit. This all needs to be quite shaded. Okay, and again, even though it's a simple design, once we've built up a couple of layers, that's going to start looking very interesting. Okay, so it's not about everything needing to be the most detailed study, but if you're going to work on a slightly sketchier design, it has to show a little bit of skill in some area. Okay, so we've got that one there. Now the next one I'm going to go for is a pencil drawing of a beak. For composition on the page, I'm actually just going to flip it round, because I think that will look a little bit more interesting, so I don't want to do all of my beaks the same direction. So I'm going to flip it around. Okay, and this is a little bit almost of a negative space style drawing. Let me flip it round. And again, I'm going to start off with my background. So I'm really working here to get some dark, heavy backgrounds. I'm using a 9B pencil to do this, so that it's very dark and very thick and very heavy. Okay, it's up to you which part of this you do first. You can do the background first, or you can do the inside first and then the background. So I'm working around the outside space, bit of negative space here. Sketching it out quite heavy. If you want to use a grid to do these drawings, if you're not confident doing them accurately, please do. Just make sure you do it lightly. You can also, even print, if you've got a printer, and you can print out the picture and just quickly trace out a general outline so you've got a rough shape. That's absolutely fine as well, if you want to get yourself a rough shape. It's all going to be about the shade and tone that's going to get you the mark in this, and that's just something you're going to have to spend time on. So getting the eye in, actually that could probably be a bit bigger. Plan it all out to start with. Haven't prepped myself a rubber, so I'll probably have to find one of those pretty soon. Nose there, and then the eye kind of joins into that mouth shape. And that comes all the way down there. Little section here that's darker, and there's a little section here that's darker. That's probably got a bit too high. Okay, so plan it out, work it out, and then obviously do your sketching. So the background, as I've said on here, I won't spend ages doing that, you can work on that. The background, again, take inspiration from the coffee painting, work in, look at the photograph, work in a bit of shading and blending. We want that negative space. Then when you go into the eye, that's where you can get your lighter pencils and start adding a little bit more of shading detail. I know you can pencil draw beautifully. Okay, so I want to see these skills here. Again, we're going for a slightly sketchier style, but you have to have the shade and tone, okay? You have to have accurate shade and tone in there. I want to see very, very dark shades. That's why if you've got a set of pencils, that'll make it a little bit easier for you. And you see the very dark areas, and you see the very light areas. Now the last one you can choose, maybe a watercolour or something. You can see the example picture I've got. Again, it's on your action plan, so do have a look, or pick another one. But again, it has to be very highly detailed. You could do that with watercolours, or you have watercolours. It's a little bit more black and white, but I think that will work really well. In the spaces, where you have spaces, what would be really lovely is if you find yourself some general skull photographs and you do yourself some really small sketch diagrams. So if I have a look, bird skull sketches, something like that. Oh, if I can spell it right. And there's a few on there. What would be really lovely is if you choose a couple of the simpler ones. I'm looking very much at something like this, and you do a few of these small line drawings in the gaps. So if I download that, I'll send you that picture as well if I get a chance. Zoom in and see all these really lovely little simplistic line drawings. It'd be lovely in these gaps, maybe even with pen. We get a pen. If in some of these gaps you do some really simple proportion line drawings. And then this page is very much an exploration of shape and form of a bird skull from all different directions. And again, even if you're working in pen, you can plan this out first if you want to. You don't have to jump straight in like this. Probably gone a bit bigger, a bit smaller than I should have. Very well. And it's just enough to show that you're exploring a little bit of the proportion of the bird skull. Little drawing like that. What else have we got? We've got that one there, which is quite lovely. Again, feel free to flip some of them round if you want to. Get your simple shapes in. But again, just some diagrammatic drawings. I know it's a difficult balance, finding simpler styles of working and still making it look interesting and detailed. You have to just spend some time on it. You have to find pictures that you want to work from, and you have to try and be accurate in those drawings. Okay, because 100 small rush drawings are not going to get you any better grades than a select few really lovely ones. Okay, a little bit of sketch and shading in there to show some detail. Not very much, but you can see it just adds to it. It just shows that I'm exploring the line, I'm exploring the shape. If we have a few of those dotted around the page, maybe a couple slightly more detailed, that could be a really lovely sketching page. A painting across the bottom, a little bit of annotation about anatomy of bird skulls. So you can research and you can write and say, in this page I'm exploring different shapes, different beak styles, different pages, because ultimately my outcome is going to feature a bird skull. I need to practice this effectively. This bottom one could maybe be the really detailed version of what you want to do in your outcome. So perhaps this bottom one could be your outcome one. You choose it, you design it, and you do it really lovely detail here. And then I can show that very clear link to your final outcome. Okay,